In this lesson, we are going to use division with fractions to help us solve word problems. Now, we have to keep in mind when we divide, the order of the numbers matters. It matters which one's the dividend and which one's the divisor. So if we read the first problem, Michelle cuts 1/4 of a yard of ribbon into 4 equal pieces. What is the length of each piece? Now we always go back to the question, what is the length of each piece? When we see that, well, each piece, what do we know about these pieces? When we look back into the problem, we see that it has to be cut into 4 equal pieces. That's a clue that it's division if we're cutting something into equal size pieces. And then we might ask, well, what is she making into 4 pieces? 1/4 of a yard of ribbon. So we know she's cutting into equal pieces. We know we have to divide. Now we have to determine which number goes in which place, which one's the dividend and which one's the divisor. So if she's cutting something, we have to think to ourselves, well, what is the size of the piece she's starting with? Well, it says right here she's cutting 1/4 of a yard of ribbon into 4 pieces. So that means she's starting with 1/4 of a yard and she's cutting it into the 4 equal pieces. Remember, this divisor is either going to be the size you cut the pieces into or it's going to be the number of pieces. In this problem, she's taking this piece of ribbon that she has and she's cutting it into the 4 equal pieces. So that's why we're doing 1/4 because that's what she's starting with, and we're dividing it by 4 because that's the number of equal pieces. Now remember, we're going to follow our steps. We're going to keep, change, flip. And we have to remember that this 4 made into a fraction is 4/1, so when we flip it, it becomes 1/4. Nothing can cancel, so the size of the pieces will be 1/16 of a yard. When it says what is the length of each piece, 1/16 of a yard is the length of each piece, because 1/16 is not improper and it cannot be reduced. Now looking at the next problem. Isabella has 5 pounds of trail mix. She divides the mix into 1/4 of a pound servings. How many 1/4 of a pound servings does she have? Our question, go back to that first. How many 1/4 of a pound servings does she have? When we look back into the problem, we see again, yes, it's telling us that she is dividing this trail mix into 1/4 of a pound serving. So you can think about it putting it in bags. So we have to see, well, what is she putting into these 1/4 of a pound servings? It says right here she has 5 pounds of trail mix. So if she's putting it into equal size pieces, that tells us that we're dividing. So that's where the division comes from, because it's into equal 1/4 of a pound sizes. She's starting with the 5 pounds, and she's breaking it into 1/4 of a pound servings or bags. So it's 5 divided by 1/4. So the 5 we make into a fraction so that we can keep, change, flip. Nothing can cancel because we have our 1's down here in the denominator, so we multiply and get 20/1, which is improper. 20/1 equals 20. So when we ask how many servings does she have, she has 20 servings. The key here, I guess the trick or the thing to remember here is knowing which number to put first. So if we look at this one, Awan makes 3 sandwiches and cuts each piece into 6ths. How many 1/6 size sandwich pieces does he have? So our question is, how many 1/6 size sandwich pieces does he have? So that's telling us right here what size it is, and it also mentions it right here. That's cut into 6ths. If we're cutting into equal pieces, that's division. That's how we know it's division. The size pieces he's cutting into, it's telling us in the question, and again here, into 1/6. The number of sandwiches, how many is he starting with? He's starting with 3 sandwiches. So he's taking the 3 sandwiches, he's cutting them each into 1/6 of a size. So to find out how many sandwiches he's going to have, we're going to make the 3 into a fraction, and we're going to keep. We're going to change the division to multiplication, and we're going to flip or take the reciprocal of 1/6. Nothing can cancel, so we multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. 1 times 1 is 1. 18 over 1 is improper. It equals 18. So when our question asks how many pieces, 18 pieces is how many pieces he will have. Now on this last one, Ashton picked 6 pounds of pecans. He wants to share the pecans equally among 5 of his neighbors. How many pounds of pecans will each neighbor get? Well, our question is asking how many pounds of pecans will each neighbor get? Well, that would lead to be, well, how many pounds of pecans do they have? It tells us right here. He picked 6 pounds. That's the amount that he has, the amount that he starts with. But it goes on to say that he wants to share them equally among 5 of his neighbors. So if he's going to share equally, like cutting into equal-sized pieces like we did up here, it's the same concept. That tells you we're going to divide. He's going to share them equally. He has 5 neighbors, so that's the number of equal-sized pieces he needs. 6 is the amount of pecans, 6 pounds is the amount of pecans he starts with. And you might say, well, wait, this one isn't fractions. Well, no, it's not. So you could take it 2 ways. You can either divide this. 6 divided by 5 would be 5 into 6. And divide 5 into 6 goes 1 time. You get a remainder of 1. Remember, you put your remainder over your divisor, and that would give you 1 1/5. Each neighbor would get 1 1/5 pounds. If you want to take it into the steps that we were doing here, you make the 6 and the 5 into fractions, and you follow our steps. You keep, you change, you flip. Nothing can cancel, you get 6/5, and look at what you have to do. You have to divide 5 into 6, just like we did over here, which would equal 1 1/5. 1 1/5 pounds.